Breaking news this morning from the High Definition Newsroom. LAPD's bomb squad is at LAX right now. They are dealing with what they term a suspicious package that was mailed to the airport's administration building. Now, the administration building, if you know the airport layout, is right in the center of the airport. It's near the control tower. And because of that, traffic at the airport has been affected. Flights are not affected at LAX. And no one knows yet whether this suspicious package is anything other than suspicious. The bomb squad is there, and they are doing what the bomb squad normally does. But for the moment, the traffic is affected at LAX in this way. If you are headed to the airport to pick someone up and you do that thing where you circle around because you're a little too early, you are going to be prevented from using the airport returns. Those are those lanes on the left-hand side of the upper deck that allow you to not exit the airport and simply take a shortcut to return to the airport loop. Those are closed. If you want to circle around the airport, you can still do that, but you'll have to exit all the way out of the airport, make a U-turn somewhere on Century Boulevard and come back in. Once again, a suspicious package at the airport administration building. It has been mailed to that building. No one knows what it is, but the LAPD bomb squad is on the case, and some traffic is affected, but flights at LAX not affected. And in a part of the world already devastated by decades of war and centuries of poverty, today nature piled on. An earthquake with a preliminary magnitude of 7.5 has struck northern Afghanistan and Pakistan. The death toll is reported to be at least 147. The shaking happened in the Hindu Kush mountain region in the far north of Afghanistan. Geologists say it was at a depth of 130 miles. That's pretty deep. But the shaking, witnesses say, lasted 2 minutes in the Pakistani capital of Islamabad. 12 students were killed while trying to escape from a girls' school in northeast Afghanistan, and 6 people were killed in the eastern province of Nangarhar. A police official says dozens of houses were destroyed in 2 remote and sparsely populated districts. And night is falling in that region, and they are still looking for people, survivors as well as casualties. That death toll is expected to rise. It has been 2.5 days since the sirens sounded in the neighborhoods around the Exxon Mobil refinery in Torrance. And the company still won't say what exactly was in that giant cloud of something that escaped from the plant and floated into the air Friday around 6 p.m. Torrance police and fire crews closed Crenshaw Boulevard near the refinery, and people who live in the surrounding neighborhoods were told to shelter in place and keep their windows shut. The shelter-in-place advisory was lifted a little less than an hour later, and Torrance fire officials say nobody was hurt. ExxonMobil issued a statement saying they'd notified all the appropriate local and state agencies, and investigators from the Air Quality Management District and Cal OSHA were at the refinery on Saturday. ExxonMobil's statement also said it had monitored air quality around the plant and there was no danger to public health. But the Press Telegram reports that even when asked a direct question, ExxonMobil spokesman would not say what exactly had leaked. That's nothing new. Most of what we know about leaks of toxic materials during a string of incidents at the refinery comes not from ExxonMobil, but from reports issued by state agencies months after the fact. Just last month, poisonous hydrofluoric acid leaked at the plant, and afterward, ExxonMobil said the leak was not significant. But the Torrance Fire Department, in its own report on the leak, called it a significant incident. ExxonMobil has sold the Torrance refinery to a New Jersey company, but the sale cannot be finalized until ExxonMobil fixes everything that's leaking, corroded, or out of order. Patricia was the strongest hurricane ever recorded in the Western Hemisphere as it headed for the west coast of Mexico. But its 200-mile-an-hour winds were down to 165 miles an hour when it came ashore between Puerto Vallarta and Manzanillo on Saturday evening. The Mexican government had been warning people for days to speed up their storm preps, and they did. But they also had some good luck. Patricia came ashore in a sparsely populated area, and it immediately smashed into the coastal mountains, which in less than 24 hours reduced Patricia from a Category 5 hurricane to a tropical cyclone with winds of just 30 miles an hour. 6 people were killed in storm-related incidents. That is a lot fewer than authorities had been fearing. There is a lot of digging out, drying out, and fixing up to be done, but Mexico faced a monster this weekend and lived to tell. Patricia made its presence known here in Southern California, too. Several airlines canceled flights from LAX and Orange County to Mexico on Friday as the storm approached, and a Princess cruise ship stayed at sea for an extra day rather than docking Saturday at Cabo San Lucas. 2 more women have come forward to accuse Bill Cosby of sexual assault. One of the women accuses Cosby of raping her at his New York apartment in 1984. after she auditioned for a role on The Cosby Show. The second woman says Cosby grabbed her inappropriately while she was officiating a track meet at the University of Pennsylvania in 2004. Both women appeared at a news conference in New York with attorney Gloria Allred, who said they will not be the last to come forward.
There are still more alleged victims who will be courageous enough to come forward in the future. It is vital that the women who assert that they are victims speak out.
Cosby, who's 78, has never been criminally charged in connection with any of the accusations, but that could change. Some of the latest accusations to surface are recent enough that the statute of limitations has not expired. Here's some catch-up for your Monday breakfast. This is some of what might have got past you since Friday. It's going to be a few years before the city of Long Beach knocks down part of the Terminal Island Freeway. But on Saturday, the people who live near it got their first look at what their neighborhood will look like when the freeway does come down. The city unveiled a plan it's been working on for 2 years. It calls for the demolition of one side of the freeway. The other side would handle traffic in both directions for the 1.6 miles between the Port of Long Beach and Terminal Island. In place of the demolished section of the freeway, there'll be a small park, some wetlands, and some hiking trails. West Long Beach residents have for years blamed the freeway through their neighborhood for bad smells and health issues. We learned last week that American troops had freed several hostages Thursday during a raid on a prison in Iraq run by the group that calls itself Islamic State. We also learned that Special Forces Master Sergeant Joshua Wheeler of Oklahoma was killed during the raid, the first American soldier killed in Iraq in 4 years. This morning, there's evidence of just how intense the fighting was on Thursday. That is audio from helmet cam video released by the Kurdish fighters who the Americans were assisting last Thursday. The Kurds and Americans freed 70 prisoners who can be seen in the video filing past the camera with their hands up, some of them with blood on their clothes. An army spokesman says the raid was launched because those prisoners' lives were in imminent danger. The Americans and Kurds saw empty, freshly dug graves nearby. Former British Prime Minister Tony Blair has added his voice to the chorus of those who say Islamic State exists as a direct result of the power vacuum created in Iraq when the American-led invasion overthrew Saddam Hussein. Blair's decision to send British troops to join in the American-led coalition destroyed his popularity among the British people. Over the years, Blair has refused to condemn the removal of Saddam, but as he has before, yesterday on CNN he said he regretted other aspects of the Iraq misadventure.
I can say that I apologize for the fact that the intelligence we received was wrong. I can also apologize, by the way, for some of the mistakes in planning and certainly our mistake in our understanding of what would happen once you removed the regime.
Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump went even further than Blair yesterday. Trump told CNN's Jake Tapper Iraq would not be a mess today if Saddam were still in power.
If you look at Iraq from years ago, I'm not saying he was a nice guy, he was a horrible guy, but it was a lot better than it is right now. Right now, Iraq is a training ground for terrorists. Right now, Libya, nobody even knows Libya. Frankly, there is no Iraq and there is no Libya. It's all broken up. They have no control. Nobody knows what's going on.
The world would be better off with Saddam Hussein
100%.
And Gaddafi in power?
100%. Now, as far as Assad is concerned,
what about the human rights abuses?
Let's talk. Well, you don't think they're happening now? They're worse now than they ever were. People are getting their heads chopped off. They're being drowned. Right now, they're far worse than they were ever under Saddam Hussein or Gaddafi.
While we're talking about Trump, 2 new polls of Iowa voters show him trailing Ben Carson by 8 points. You will not be surprised to learn that Trump is not buying it.
I'm number 2 in Iowa. I said I don't believe it. One's Bloomberg, they hate me. The other one is a super liberal newspaper, the Des Moines Register, which is third rate, totally third rate, not respected in Iowa. It's a third-rate, crummy newspaper.
That third-rate, crummy newspaper has won 16 Pulitzer Prizes and was a Pulitzer finalist last year. At one point a few years ago, only the New York Times had earned more Pulitzers in history than that third-rate, crummy newspaper, the Des Moines Register. In other news, Trump's TV show The Apprentice has been nominated for multiple Emmys, but it has never won. While the Republicans were sniping at each other over the weekend, the Democrats were sniping at each other. Hillary Clinton did not mention Bernie Sanders by name in Des Moines on Saturday night, but she was clearly referring to something Sanders said during the debate when she said,
"Told to stop," and I quote, "shouting about gun violence." Well, first of all, I'm not shouting. It's just when women talk, some people think we're shouting.
Bernie Sanders, Sunday on CNN.
I am very proud of my record on women's issues. I certainly do not have a problem with women speaking out. And I think what the secretary is doing there is taking words and misapplying them. What I was saying is, if we are going to make some progress on dealing with these horrific massacres that we're seeing, is that people have got to start all over this country talking to each other. It was not Hillary Clinton. You have some people who are shouting at other people all across this country. You know that. This nation is divided on this issue.
Politics this week, the Republicans meet for their next debate Wednesday in Colorado. After Thomas Stenberg was fired from his corporate job with a Massachusetts supermarket chain in 1985, he thought of an idea for a new business. He was typing up the proposal when his ribbon ran out. Yeah, 1985. He jumped in his car to go get a new typewriter ribbon, but it was the July 4th weekend and the stationery and office supply shops were all closed. Stenberg ditched his original idea and went with the one that occurred to him in the car as he searched for that ribbon. The result was Staples, which he co-founded with cash from Mitt Romney's venture capital firm, Bain Partners. It was only the beginning of their collaboration. When Romney became governor of Massachusetts, Stenberg suggested that if Romney really wanted to help people, he'd give them access to health insurance. Romney says now, quote, "Without Stenberg pushing it, I don't think we would have had Romney Care. Without Romney Care, I don't think we would have had Obamacare. So without Tom, a lot of people wouldn't have health insurance." Staples and Obamacare. That's a lot of impact for one guy. He died of cancer Friday in the Boston suburb of Chestnut Hill. Thomas Stenberg was 66. Every Christmas on TV, Maureen O'Hara is the woman everybody except her knows is wrong. That's because in the 1947 classic movie Miracle on 34th Street, O'Hara plays a Macy's executive who tries to convince her young daughter that the store Santa Claus is not the real deal, because there is no real deal. In the movie, Santa was played by Oscar winner Edmund Gwenn, as O'Hara remembered on CNN in 2000.
There was a sweetheart. We loved him so much, by the end of the movie, we really believed he was Santa.
Would you please tell her that you're not really Santa Claus? That there actually is no such person?
Well, I'm sorry to disagree with you, Mrs. Walker, but not only is there such a person, but here I am to prove it.
No, you misunderstand. I want you to tell her the truth. What's your name?
Sprinkle. I'll bet you're in the first grade.
Second. I mean your real name.
That is my real name.
We knew it was going to be a hit. It had so much heart. It had to. But we didn't realize it was going to be, what is it now, almost 60 years.
68 years now. Maureen O'Hara was a link to the golden age of Hollywood. Her movie debut in 1939's The Hunchback of Notre Dame was opposite Charles Laughton. She also co-starred with Douglas Fairbanks Jr., Errol Flynn, and Tyrone Power. By the time she made her last screen appearance in 2000, her co-star was Eric Stoltz. In between were classics like 1941's How Green Was My Valley, in which she co-starred with Walter Pidgeon.
I know enough of life to know that Michael and Lewis is no worse than I am. Oh, what do the deacons know about it? What do you know about what could happen to a poor girl when she loves a man so much that even to lose sight of him for a moment is torture?
O'Hara made 5 movies with John Wayne, including 1952's The Quiet Man.
Who gave you leave to be kissing me?
So you can talk.
Yes, I can, I will, and I do. And it's more than talk you'll be getting if you step a step closer to me.
Don't worry, you got a wallop.
In 1961, she was mom to Haley Mills and Haley Mills in Disney's The Parent Trap. And the next year, she and Henry Fonda starred in Spencer's Mountain, adapted from the novel that later became the TV series, The Waltons.
I thought you were going to spend your day off up at the Dream House. First time I ever saw a man build a house with a fishing pole.
Ah, don't you worry. I'm building you a castle up there fit for a royal butted king.
I've always tried to do the best I could do, whether it was punching John Wayne or Henry Fonda or Brian Keith or Jimmy Stewart, all the wonderful, wonderful men that I worked with.
Or John Candy, whose bitter mother she played in Only the Lonely in 1991. In her heyday in the 1940s and 50s, she was known as the Queen of Technicolor because the new film process seemed to love her Irish red hair and green eyes. She was still feisty last year when she told jokes from her wheelchair in Hollywood's El Capitan Theater before a screening of How Green Was My Valley. Her family says she died in her sleep Saturday at home in Boise. Maureen O'Hara was 95. Now you know what we know. I'm Jeff Kaufman, High Definition News.